So, Coach Keem, it seems standard that your defensive line played very well last game. So, when you see that, is it just effort that you think brings that? Were there techniques? Was it scheme? What is it when a team or when a group plays well one game compared to another?
Well, it always starts with effort. Um, if you don't have that, you don't have really anything defensively. None of your schemes work. None of your fundamentals are as good as they need to be. Um, and that's the thing that sticks out more to me going back and watching last week or 2 weeks ago, all right, a week and a half ago, whatever it was. Um, our guys played extremely hard, and we've talked about that. Going back to last year, where I think it was a little bit like this, and consistency's been one of the things that we've talked about, especially up front. Um, Darius and Dante, I know it's one of the things we talked about going into the year with them. And, if we can get that and be consistent with it, we've I think we can play like that a lot.
We'll go to Cody Nesper.
Hey Jordan, I wanted to ask you about Puka Williams. Just what does he present to a defense?
Everything. I've been telling the guys for 2 weeks. We go into Oklahoma State and the guys were talking about Chuba and LD Brown. Puka's to me he's as good or maybe one of the best in the league to me, because he can make mistakes and make it look good. He can go way away from where the play's designed to go, or where whatever it may be, and he can go 80 yards, 60 yards. He can score a touchdown on you from anywhere on the field. You go back to last year and you watch the tape, you watch cut-ups of him. Did the same thing last year. He's just he's a different type of back. I wouldn't put him in the power category that some of the other guys are, but he doesn't have to be. He can get away with, like I said, I think in my opinion, even the guys at Baylor I thought were really good. They were different from Oklahoma State's backs, but I mean, to me, Puka's he's the best one.
Okay, next will be from Taylor Kennedy.
Hey, Coach, this is a two-part question. My first one is going back to the recruiting of Akeem Mesidor. What were some things that impressed you the most early on during that recruiting process with Mesidor? And second, through the first 3 games, what are some things that have just popped out about Mesidor's game against opposing offenses?
I go back to the first time that we saw Akeem was when we were still able to do the travel, when I say travel camps, the mega camps, or we were in Mercer down in Macon, Georgia, and he, stature-wise, there's some really good kids there as far as prototypical defensive linemen that everybody is obviously recruiting. And his skill set stuck out immediately: athleticism, explosiveness, power. And we knew where he was from, and we had, some information on him at the time. And the thing that stuck out to me was we knew that he was extremely raw. And the first rep that he does of one-on-one pass rush, he looked like he'd been doing it for 10 years. So when you see that, that's kind of one of those situations. Some guys got it, some guys don't, and he's got it. Especially as compared to the kids that were there. But other than that, it was really just our relationship with him and knowing how he, not only is he a good player, but he loves football. He wants to be good at it. He wants to succeed. He wants to succeed at it, and that, he loves it.
We'll go to Kevin Kinder next. Go ahead, Kevin.
Coach, last week or a couple weeks ago, we talked about disruptive plays, and you mentioned, not just getting in the backfield, but making the play. what are your goals, and did you meet those against Baylor for number of sacks, number of tackles for loss, and then the second thing, those other sorts of plays where maybe somebody gets in the way, disrupts timing or whatever. Do you chart those and track those also?
No, not really. I mean, we chart them and track them as far as each individual guy. As far as overall team, I really don't. If those plays are made, they're going to show up, and the guys that make them are going to get the accolades for them. It's just something that we try to base our defense around is those types of plays, and so we really don't necessarily talk about them as far like you would like a goal or like a something that you have to improve on in the season. I think it's just part of the defense, and the guys that make those plays are going to get the accolades for them. They're going to show up. The numbers that they have are going to show up, whether it's conference wise or national wise. So I really don't make a huge deal out of it. They're gonna get all the benefit from having those, whether it's Player of the Week, All Conference, All American, on to their status at the next level, whatever that may be. So, I know that people outside of me are going to keep up with all of those.
Go ahead, John.
I guess yesterday they announced Kendrick quarterback, but they've got 3 kids that have played quarterback. I guess different styles. Do you work off of Puka and then plan for those 3 guys, and how do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to plan. I think at least from what I've been told, at least 2 of the 3 you always do. Because if a guy's played, you got to plan for him, and if he's playing, and to plan for him going to play, so you have to go back and you have to watch if is there a difference in the set of plays that you see, and then you have to know where Puka is. I mean, that's going to be a part of the plan. No matter who's the quarterback, you have to know where he is and how they plan on using him, and which I'm sure will be a multitude of ways.
Real quick, different styles. They got one who's a pocket passer, and I guess too, Dearman likes to use a lot of different personnel groupings. So you're going to have to really be cognizant of who they got on the field.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. They do a great job. I mean, you watch them on tape. The numbers not necessarily have reflected it, but they put you in some situations, and you have to really pay attention to what they're presenting you with, and then be able. It's probably going to be something you haven't seen, so you have to adjust to it, and I mean everybody does that. I mean Baylor did it, Oklahoma State did it, so it's just it becomes a little more concerning with a guy, yeah, and Zero's a good running back, but with a guy like Puka, you just have to find him, and hope you find him before it's too late.
Ryan Pritt is next.
Hey, Jordan, kind of a two-parter here. First part, obviously you guys played really well up front a couple weeks ago, but I'm sure as a coach, when you saw film, you saw plenty there to nitpick. So I guess I'm wondering if there was anything up front there from a couple weeks ago, what you saw that needed to get shored up before this week. And the second part of that is, it seems like that defensive line finally played with, I guess, a level of effort that you guys are pretty much satisfied with. What's the biggest challenge in making that the norm now moving forward?
Well, I mean, as far as the norm is concerned, that's what they have to choose to be. We talk about it enough to where, going back to last year's, do you want to be a flash, or is this who you want to be? And you have to make that decision, and the group has to make that decision. It's ultimately going to come back to the coaching staff. That's, you have to demand that, and that's how you have to. You have to do everything you do that way. You don't just show up on Saturday and then this is, we play hard. That's just not the way it works. So practice, meetings, whatever, like that's just got to have to be your approach to what you do. And if that becomes who you are, then it's that's what our hope is, and that we are able to take that game and say, okay, this is, it's just how we should play football. It's nothing special. It's what we want to be. And sure, there's always, there's a ton of mistakes from last week, and but you go back to what we just talked about. So I talked about it first. If you play that hard, mistakes usually take care of themselves a lot of times. They're not as glaring as they would be when you're not. So there's going to be things. There's mistake-free football in my opinion, does not exist. All right, you're going to make mistakes. It's how was your effort able to make up for those mistakes? And then collectively, if the effort's where it needs to be, then like I said, those mistakes aren't as glaring.
Go ahead, Mike Kazaza.
Jordan, how's it going?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I have two for you. One's on Darius, and kind of what you're talking about with mistakes. He hasn't missed a tackle in a long, long time, at least looking at numbers and everything, which for that position is kind of strange because sometimes it happens so fast and guys move before the ball's going the other way. I'm just wondering about his tackling and his security. How unique is that at that position? And secondly, you haven't played a ton of snaps on defense. You've been over that before, and you've had some breaks in between games, but the 5 games in a row coming up here with no chance to get your breath, how conscious of you are like snap counts or getting guys in maybe who haven't needed to play a whole bunch as of yet?
The first question was on Darius's tackling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something that we really talked about coming out of last season. And if you look at Darius' statistics, one thing that I approached with him is, let's don't look at the plays that you made. Let's look at the ones you didn't. Let's look at the why, because there were twice the number that he statistically that he made that don't show up on highlights or stat sheets that he didn't make, and it's really just learning how to. And I go back to, I think it was the conversation I had the first week. There's a lot of times when we recruit the way we do, we have guys that are athletic and explosive, and a lot of times you see a tendency for those guys to where they affect the play and they're in the backfield. A lot of times they're almost too fast, and sometimes they run themselves out of the play. And I think that was the case with Darius, was learning how to take his skill set and still do the things that he likes to do, which is move around and get penetration in the backfield. And then at that point, it's learning how to control that at the point of contact with the ball carrier. So that's really one of the things we really worked hard on in the offseason, is controlling your body at the point of contact, because he gets to the point of contact a lot, and he did last year. And so I think that's one of the things that he's really worked on that's showed up for him. And then, as you get into this stretch of games, you're going to have to depend on more guys. You get into guys that are younger or first or second year guys. It's always been with me. I've always thought it was kind of that 4-game, 5-game, to where your younger guys really kind of settle down to the speed of the game, and they start to catch up with it, instead of it dominating how they play. So. Or determining how they play. We're at that point. So some guys have got to continue to develop and continue to their roles have got to increase. Injuries are going to happen. Little knick-knack injuries are going to happen, and so you as you go through it, obviously in this league your play count's going to go up. You hope it don't, but odds are it's going to. So. We've got to continue to get guys ready and rotate guys in different spots and have some guys playing, dueled up on some positions. And so we're going to have some guys get ready.
Back to you, Greg, for a final question.
Yeah, Coach, was wondering about Sean Martin. We've talked about him before, and I know he missed some practice time, but is he getting closer that he can find a spot in the rotation, or is he still a ways off?
He's getting closer. The thing about Sean is Sean is kind of I don't know if any of you guys have stood next to him lately. Sean is a big kid. I mean, he's a big guy. All right, and anytime you're carrying that much, and not that I mean, just big as in stature. And when you're that big of a guy, the one thing that's got to catch up is your strength to body weight ratio. And I think that's where Sean is more than anything. It's his body catching up weight room wise to support itself from some of the things that we do, you know. And but if you watch him with his length and his hands and some of the things he does at practice, he's coming along. And there'll probably be a guy at some point that we'll have to use. And so the faster that happens, the better off it is for him. But he's progressing well, and he's going to be fine. But I think that's where he is more than anything is getting his strength to where it needs to be, because he's going to be a big man.